Hey guys, so I copped a bit of flack from one of my emails that I sent out where I basically said that some investors need to kick up the arse because they're sitting around, they're not doing anything in preparation for the tax changes, the mortgage changes, and they're really just sitting around. And what I said, the comment that I made was that, a lot of investors have put their head in the sand and, they're waiting for the kick up the arse. And, unfortunately, that's the reality for a lot of people is, and I say that because it evokes a response. The reality is that nobody, including the government, and they're pathetic. Unfortunately, their whole approach to it is pathetic. It's so bureaucratic. They haven't made it easy. They haven't really, done anything to help investors. And it's almost like, screw you, investors. We don't care about who you are. We're just going to change the laws, make it really hard, make it not profitable anymore to be in business. Or you've got to professionalise. In other words, you've got to go to a company structure, but we're not even going to give you any certainty about that. Screw you, and that's been the attitude of government. That is not what these guys should be doing, and that's why I think they should all be sacked, hung, drawn and quartered, as they used to say. I just think the challenge is that's happening. We can't control that. We don't control the government, but what we can do, is we can control how we respond to that. And that's the point that I make about sticking your head in the sand and waiting for a kick up the arse. Is you can take your head out, you can do a bit of reading, you can speak to a few people, and actually there's lots of information out there now where you can look at your options. Now, some of those options are very restricted. Some of those options are, unfortunately, sell the property, which isn't really that good in this market. If you're in London, you're struggling. If you're out in the towns, well, nothing's increased in price for 10 years. Thank you, austerity, wonderful government initiative. And I think really this is the challenge we're at. But I think the thing is, the worst thing you do is stick your head in the sand. What you should be looking to do is looking at your portfolio, looking at how you can raise the income, manage the expenses, the outgoings, but also maybe look at remortgaging if you can. You can also look at things like selling, and there's lots and lots of different options, and there's hundreds of different options. It could be something like leasing your property out to somebody who can afford it, or bringing on a joint venture partner who will fund the mortgage, in case you're in problems, going to family, restructuring, whole range of things, So there is a lot of things you can do, and there's a lot of creative ways. And the reality is, if you've got no traditional choices in terms of remortgaging or raising rent or decreasing expenses, and you're pretty stuck where you are because maybe the property has an increase in value. I mean, we're noticing that if you're not in a major city, then you're screwed. And unfortunately, prices haven't really gone up at all for a very long time. That's the reality of the game right now. Thank you, austerity government. Wonderful. But the reality is, what do you have to do? You've got to get creative, But there's lots and lots of different ways of getting creative. I mean, a couple of my mates in the property market, they absolutely know, heaps of different ways that you could be creative. And yes, you might have to give away a portion of the equity. And yes, you may have to, lose control of the property. And yes, there may be options. But the reality is, the other option is that you lose the property altogether. Yeah. And that can mean you're left with debt. That can mean, you go the hard way, which is not really what we want. So what I recommend you do is, if you're not sure, and you really don't know what to do, then, give someone a call. Go and do a bit of research, spend a couple of hours, jump online, do some research, and really get a feel for what your options are. And, if you're not sure about that, give my team a call, and get them to talk through the options of what you can do, because there is lots of options. There's a lot of creative ones out there that you can find that, you need to maybe go do some work for. But you know what the reality is, if, interest rates rise, if property values decrease and all that sort of stuff, the question is, you got to run those scenarios. What happens to your portfolio then? And if you consider that, then you can actually get a real sense for, what you need to do now, as opposed to waiting until, it's too late. And that's the problem right now, as I see, is there's people sitting there and, they're waiting until, potentially it's too late. Now, the worst may not come, and I hope it doesn't, and I hope actually the Brexit sorts itself out and it's not as bad as we think, and that's my thoughts. But the reality is, it may. I'm hoping interest rates don't have to rise too much, and all these sort of things, and and I don't think they will. So I think actually, touch wood, if you do nothing, you should be okay. Yeah, but there's no guarantees in this game, and I'd love to say there was, but there's just not. So what I'm saying is, at worst or at the least, run some scenarios and see what happens if interest rates go up 4%. If the property prices drop 25%. If you lost your job and couldn't get another job for say 3 months, and when you do, you only get a job back for say 70% of what you were earning before. Run those scenarios, those 3 scenarios, and when you look at those, then you'll get a sense for where you are at and what you have to do right now, okay? And remember, take into account the tax changes if you got mortgage debt on those, If you're not sure how to do that, give the team a call, 0207 +44, and then 207 923 6100, and get them to talk through, or just info@gladfish.com, and and they can talk you through some of the options, because there are options. And the thing is, if you take the options now, what you're going to find is that you'll actually have a lot more options now than later on, where actually you probably haven't really got options apart from giving it back to the bank, and that's not what you want to do. All right, guys, hopefully that's food for thought. Remember, comment, subscribe. I'll be happy to have conversations, and I'm happy to get into a lovely discussion about what your options are and what some of the options are. Okay, all right, guys, have a great day. Live with passion.